participants, please keep your camera on.
Good morning, sir.
Very good morning, sir. Good morning.
Very good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Very good morning.
Good morning, Naran Pradhan ji.
Sir, good morning, sir. Good morning.
How are you?
Fine, sir. Fine, sir. Very
Good, good.
Good morning, Zenda.
Hello. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Oh, fine, thanks.
Dr. Venkat, good morning.
Good morning, doctor.
Yeah, Sakib Bhai, good morning. Abrar, good morning. Devangre, sir, good morning.
very good morning.
Once again, very warm good morning to you all. And
Thank you.
today we have two eminent speakers, very experienced and very senior faculty members. First speaker, Dr. Nadim Firoz sir, ex-professor and head of the Department of Livestock Products and Technology, Veterinary College, Bangalore. And sir will speak on guidelines for setting up modern abattoirs, slaughterhouses. And today we have another senior experienced speaker, Mr. Srikant Tambe sir, senior consultant, meat industry, Mumbai. And Tambe sir will speak on recent advances in pork meat production, its scope for export. So now I request Dr. Jhende sir to give brief introduction about our today's first speaker, that is Dr. Nadim Firoz sir. So I request Dr. Jhende sir, please.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Vaidya. Good morning, all the participants. I think please switch on your cameras so that we can take a snap. All other on the screen, Akshay, I think Akshay joined from both the devices, two devices. Then who is Ipande, Akbal, Abrar, Narayan Pradhan, Bijendra Pratap Yadav, Amar, Sakir Bhai, please start your video.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Snap gig. Okay, good morning, everyone. Today is our fourth day, and as Dr. Vaidya said, we have today eminent speakers and well experienced, more than 40 years in the meat industry. Okay, so the first speaker I'm going to introduce, I have very good pleasure to introduce Dr. Nadim sir, Dr. Mohammad Nadim Biroj. He is ex-professor and the head Department of LPT, that is Livestock Product Technology, Veterinary College, Bangalore. He has about 37 years of experience in teaching research extension in the various capacities in the veterinary colleges. He started his career as assistant professor, and the last position he has handled, that is PhD in Faculty of Veterinary Science and the head office at Bidar. Sir has various activity he has done during his tenure, and sir is also responsible for establishing the livestock product technology department in the Bangalore Veterinary College. He is main instrumental for that. Sir has handled successfully the 7 extramural, that is external agency funded projects, and internal out of that there are 4 international projects on the LPT aspect. Then he has attended the International Conference 1, National Conference 2. He has at his credit the 1 patent. He has published about 4 books on the different aspects of the meat and meat products technology. He has published peer-reviewed journals, articles about 49, presented 34 uh, papers in the national conferences, and 6 research papers in the international conferences. He has guided 23 PG students for their postgraduate research, and also supervised the MBA thesis also for the 3 eminent students. As an achievement of his career, what he has served in the veterinary college under the Bidar Animal Science University, and instrumental in development of all the LPT departments at various colleges in Bidar. He is a expert panel member of the different government agencies of the national level, like FSSI, then panel members on the Research Advisory Committee, the Nimkar Agriculture Research Institute, Maharashtra, for genetic upgradation among the sheep farmers of the Karnataka and the Maharashtra, from where he has working from the 2005 till date. He is also the chief consultant to the Karnataka Sheep and Wool Development Corporation, Government of Karnataka. He has strengthened the Department of Livestock Product Technology, as I said, by introducing the postgraduate program he has developed in the university. He has undertaken the hands-on training, made a strong attempt to popularize the value addition of the common vegetarian dishes with either eggs or the mince meat. He is also involved in the establishment of several public, private sheep goat slaughter units and the supply chains in India. He is actively involved in the establishment of the number of private poultry processing units and the retail outlets on hygienic lines. He is expert member in the various government agencies like BIS, APEDA, EIA, GRP, CDDP, NMPPB, and Allah Certification Committee. He is also on the task force member uh, for BBMP towards the management of the solid waste of the animal origin. He has organized a number of training programs for the butchers and other meat workers. He has conducted a number of workshops for the environmental engineers, health inspectors, environmental officers of the government of Karnataka in collaboration with the Environment Management Policy Research Institute, government of Karnataka. Establishment of the liaison office for the international programs in the university he has established, and mainly he has developed many programs on the education of the teaching the faculty and the student with the two international universities like Purdue University USA and Oregon State University USA. He has also organized our veterinary public health conference also in Bangalore, although he is in LPT man, the livestock product man. So that I forgot to mention here. So today we are very rich experienced about more than 50 years in the meat industry. And now he will speak on the topic uh, that is the guidelines for the setting of the modern abattoir. Okay. So I invite Dr. Nadim sir to talk on this guideline for the setting of the modern abattoir. Dr. Nadim sir, please.
Thank you, Dr. Zende, for a very lengthy introduction. So good morning, all the viewers. So it's my proud privilege, even after retirement, so that I could address you. Thanks to Dr. Zende and team for identifying me to share my views in this particular topic. The topic is very wide, and I have tried my best to make it palatable to you. I hope it will be useful. So please ask questions if you have any during or after the presentation. So let me start my presentation. So today's topic given is the guidelines for setting up of a modern abattoir. Now, before starting the actual topic, I just want to give you a prologue, a glimpse of meat production and consumption in India. Here, first I want to talk to you about the estimated total meat production in India, which you can see it's quite linear, right from when we compare 2006 to 2020. So we have gone up to 8.1 million tons from a meager 4 million tons way back in 2014, 2008. So in case in about 12 years, we have doubled our meat production. Now, interestingly, when we see the consumption of sheep meat in India, it is almost the same what it was in 2013 and 2021. So there is not much of change in this, but when we see the consumption of chicken meat in India, it has again has a linear model wherein it has gone up to 4107,000 metric tons. So there is a huge jump in the meat production and consumption in the country. And so we are compelled to look into the matter of the production and what is the present situation. Now, when we see the species-wide meat contribution, so almost half of the meat consumed comes from the poultry sector, whereas the second important one is about goat, which is about 14%, sheep about 9%, buffalo about 18%, and pigs about 5%. So this is the distribution of the meat in species. All along, people were talking about that India is a vegetarian country, and we were talking about the number of people who eat meat. And today, we have to talk about the reverse. That is, most of the people in the south and southeast, south and northeast part of the country, we are competing with the the developed nation where the meat consumption is around 75 to about 98.4%. So Telangana is the top one, followed by the other northeast parts. And so it is high time we think of exactly, looking into the ways and means, how the meat production is there, how the distribution is there, what needs to be done to make it an industry and be useful for the people of the country. Now, when we see the meat value chain, in organized sector, what happens? The meat, animal and poultry production is controlled by the genetics, nutrition, health, production and management sectors. Now, with the efficiently, when the food animals are produced, they are marketed efficiently and to a processing plant where the slaughtering, processing, value addition and the byproduct utilization takes place, and then it goes to the distribution channel, retailing or e-commerce portals, and then to some extent the export of the material also takes place. And all these things are very common and very important. Pardon me? Do you hear me? Zende, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay, right. Thank you. There was some disturbance there. That's why I asked. Okay, thank you. So now the meat value chain is like that. Now you can see the same thing. What happens is there are the production where there is a lot of efficiency which is coming up, and there is so much of stories discussed about the illogical use of veterinary drugs in production for the weight gain and etc. And then we talk about the microbial contamination and recontamination during the process and the distribution channels. And finally, when it comes to either to the export market or to the retail chains in the domestic market, we think of a lot of problems which are there, and we have to address them. Now, considering that, so we have to see what are the critical issues of the Indian meat sector. In Indian meat sector, the lack of specific breeds for beef production or the poor genetic potential. Here what happens, animals other than poultry are not bred for meat production. And for the grazing animals, the quality of the grazing lands is decreasing gradually and very steadily. And there are the basic facilities for animal marketing system are virtually non-existent in many parts of our country. And the EC poultry farms, environmentally controlled poultry farms, are almost negligible in our country, and there is absence of HACCP and biosecurity measures in production. Then unscrupulous movement of animals across states. After we eradicate disease from our country, there are no disease-free zones, and there is unscrupulous movement of animals, which contributes to a lot of problems, especially from the traceability point of view. Then there is poor recording of antibiotic and hormonal use and enforcing withdrawal mechanism in meat production. There are quite few limitations of transportation vehicles for live animals, carcasses and meats. Most of the places, the animals and carcasses are transported in the same vehicles, and in cold chains are virtually in the domestic market are non-existent, though because of the mandatory prescriptions in the export market, the cold chains are there. Then here in our country, there is a very depressing moment where all the frozen and processed meat, whenever it is packed, it attracts taxation. And so the people in the trade are discouraged towards going for processing and packaging of the meat products. And market intelligence information is very limited, which is available both in the domestic and export market, mostly because of the innumerable number of market intermediaries which are present. And then there is acute shortage of skilled manpower, because this meat production and processing is a very skilled process, and we don't have any area from where we can look for the skilled manpower for the required job. Considering the situation, let us see what are the challenges of the meat sector in India. Here, failure of most of the local bodies to provide basic minimal facilities or infrastructure. See, what happens is meat production comes to the local government, that is the panchayat, or it can be the corporation, municipality, etc. So where the basic needs such as provision of drinking water, then the drainage problems, basic education, and the health of human beings and animals. Along with that, the meat production also comes into that. But because it has not attracted the attention of the people, so local bodies are not in a position to invest and provide minimum facilities for the meat production, the byproduct harvesting, byproduct utilization, and of course the waste disposal. Despite there are a lot of directions from the Supreme Court also on this particular subject. Number two, lack of specific meat breeds. So meat breeds are not there, and there are so many laws also which are governing that. And uniform slaughter policy is not there. In one part of the country, certain animals can be slaughtered. In the other part of the country, certain animals cannot be slaughtered. And there is absence of fodder policy leading to shortage of feed and absence of fodder. Then animals are slaughtered at a very young age or a very early age, so that there is loss both qualitatively and quantitatively of the meat happens. Now, because of the shortage of the animals are subjected to long distance transportation, which leads to involvement of a series of middlemen and the escalation of cost of the animal. Then the livestock mandis or markets are very limited, and so the vehicles for transportation of the live animals as per guidelines cannot be come into use, and so the animal loading and unloading ramp, such etc., such kind of facilities are also not available. So that makes people to go by to the animal welfare program of illogical methods of loading and unloading and overcrowding of the animals in the said vehicles. Then the poor conditions of the domestic slaughterhouses, lack of approach roads, insufficient water supply, of slaughtering in the floor, absence of demarcation between the unclean areas, etc., are plaguing the very purpose of meat production. So that has been the topic of discussion for the past half a decade, half the century, but still nothing has been done. Even in very developed cities also, this kind of inadequacies are rampant, and there is nobody to look on that. Then lack of refrigerated transport vehicles for dressed carcass transportation, and poor condition of the retail shops without basic facilities. Then again about the skilled manpower I have told you about. Now, when all these things are there, so we have been talking about the problems. Now, let us talk about what are the mitigation strategies which can be undertaken. First of all, the data available on the losses of meat value chain and all other things what I told you, we have no data on that. So there has to be some kind of studies undertaken to estimate the losses of the meat value chain, of the food animals and the birds to be undertaken in the different zones of the country. Then we have to study the potential value of utilizing of animal byproducts and meat industry waste so that we can improve the revenue in that particular aspect. Then thirdly, to prevent long distance transportation of live animal birds from the animal welfare point of view, as well as the associated losses due to shrinkage, death and diseases. So we have to look for alternatives. What are the alternatives? At least one hygienic slaughterhouse can be established at each district place or in each cluster with all the facilities for efficient utilization of edible and inedible byproducts and effluent treatment plant instead of one big slaughterhouse in each of the metropolitan cities. So when we are talking about the cities, we want to have a huge structure where thousands of animals can be slaughtered in a particular day. Instead, when the animals are brought from the rural areas, we can as well go for rural facilities for slaughtering of animals. Instead of bringing the live animals and putting the animals under a lot of distress, we can think of establishing small scale slaughterhouses at the rural areas or at least at the district level. And then wherever the meat is required at the consumption points, we can transport the meat under refrigerated condition so that animal welfare on one side, food safety and quality on the other side can be taken care of. Then the slaughterhouse construction or the modernization of the existing slaughterhouse facilities, byproduct harvesting and utilization, and effluent treatment plant must be considered on priority and must be incorporated with the smart cities. So we are talking about smart cities where white topping of the roads are done and so on and so forth. But here we have to think about the meat processing plants and meat outlets also from this particular point of view. Now, let us talk about the main topic, guidelines for setting up of an abattoir. Now, in recent times, since 2 years, we have seen so much of havoc the COVID has made to the economy of the world, and India is no exception. But when we see the etiology, the basic thing from the Wuhan market, the wet market is considered to be the birthplace of COVID-19. So what has happened is there is a huge kind of awareness which has happened both at the consumer level as well as the policymakers level, so that we have to go in search of some kind of a modernization of the abattoir so that the wet market system has to be discontinued, which can be a breeding place for all kinds of pathogens across the meat surface, across the meat markets, so that we can safeguard the human health and prevent such kind of pandemics or at least the epidemics in future. Now, the modern abattoir is not a cosmetic or a showpiece which you have to do. We have to do in terms of the soul of what an abattoir is, what kind of facilities we have to do. So, from decades we have been talking about what are the problems, and now I also have referred about the different problems. Let us see what are the guidelines we have to think of. Now, when we see for the lifetime modern abattoir, so what are the minimum standards which we should look for? So all of a sudden, overnight, everything we cannot make it very, mechanized and state-of-art facility. But we have to think and we have to start somewhere. First of all, whatever is the abattoir, it should be having a valid license from the local government authority. So from time immemorial, the time I started speaking about it 4 decades back, we are talking about the 3,600 slaughterhouses in our country, which I think even coming decades also we will be talking about it. So this has to be done where a valid license from the local government authority should be given to the people who are slaughtering it, and so we should stop talking about the illegal slaughter. Number 2, minimum hygienic standards should be followed. So what are the minimum hygienic standards? So where there should be a clear-cut demarcation of clean and dirty areas of the premises to ensure safety. So where the live animals are there and where finally the meat is there, and in between where the processing takes place, these areas should be clearly demarcated so that minimum hygienic standards can be brought about. Then there should be adequate room available for resting of food animals. So food animals are being transported from a few hundred kilometers to even 1,000 kilometers also. So there is a must that from animal welfare point of view, the animals should be rested and the layages have to be provided. Now, in majority of the cases for the domestic slaughter, only booth system of slaughtering is taking place, and so there should be overhead rails to discontinue booth system and avoid the slaughter on the floor. Then water, it should not be brought in a bucket or in a small tank. There should be ad libitum potable water available so that the operations can be made clean. The carcasses can be cleaned thoroughly, and even the premises can be kept very hygienic, provided there is good amount of water, good quality water is available. Then adequate light should be there, because when clandestine operations are taking place, it is happening in a very dark, small places, and so there should be adequate light which can bring about whatever happening there properly. Then efficient system of harvesting and utilization of byproducts has to be there, so that on one side the food safety norms can be safeguarded, on the other side the revenue generated from the byproducts can be a cushioning, can give a cushioning effect to the traders and the farmers alike for making this operation efficient. Then there should be mandatory chilling of the carcasses and offal. So ours being a tropical country, chilling of the carcasses and offal is a must. Now those days, in earlier days, people were talking about in India people will not accept the cooled meat and all that. Those days are gone, and now chicken we have achieved a good amount of experiences with selling the chilled chicken carcasses, and so all the species of meat should be done following the right kind of chilling methods for the carcasses as well as offal, so that food safety norms can be followed. Then there should be efficient segregation and disposal of unfit animals. So what happens is, so the unfit animals which are brought from a long distance for slaughter, so they are not disposed or segregated properly, and even the whole carcasses or the parts of the carcasses which are condemned due to obvious reasons are not disposed properly, and so measures have to be taken to do that. Then there should be some scrupulous treatment of effluents. Most of the places wherever is the slaughterhouses are located in such a way there is a big drainage going next. So the site of selection of the slaughterhouse itself is considered to have a big drainage, so that they can push off all the effluents into the drainage canals. So that should not be done, and treatment of effluent should be made mandatory, and it should be done. Then healthy, hygienic, and trained staff at the premises. So the condition of the people who are working and the equipment which is used there, it is very pathetic from the hygienic point of view, and so the staff who are working in these plants and processing units should be very healthy, they should be very hygienic, and they should be trained for the purpose which they are used. And above all, there should be an overall supervision of operations. So nothing should go unchecked. Otherwise, if there is no supervision by the representative of the local authority, the authenticity of the process is not there, and people can claim, and they can be, that gives to a lot of unpleasantness in the market. So these are the few basic points which we have to very seriously think about when we are thinking about having a modern abattoir. Now, simply what happens is, so on the left side is your manual slaughter line, there which has to be done with the provision of rails, and so that the whole thing becomes very hygienic. Now here is a glimpse of a slaughterhouse, how the walls are, how the floors are, and how the lighting is provided, how the rails are there, so that itself gives an indication. There is a modernization of that. See, this is one kind of a chicken slaughter unit. So most of the people who give the presentation show all the dirty things from the market. So like the Westerners who come to India, when they talk about India, they show only the snake charmers. So our people also get that thrill, showing all the dirty things. No, let us see good things which are there in our country itself, and let us motivate people so that they come forward and bring in such kind of a positive changes in our market system, so that our people also deserve the same quality of material, or basically the food, as that of what food we are exporting to the export markets into the developed countries. So our people also deserve better. Now, to start with, what are the regulations for complaints we have to see? So first of all, we should have a license from the revenue authority. So a local body, it can be a panchayat, or it can be a municipality or a corporation, it should give a license. So when is this license given? The license is given when a particular organization or a particular private company gets the registration of its company from the Department of Industries, and it gets registered for the taxation, for the GST. So, and then with the concurrence of the this pollution control board, when all these registrations are done, finally the local body can give the license. This is exactly one license which is given. So I'm showing you something of the in Karnataka. So in a municipality, a license has been there. So for that, what you have to do, this is the registration from the Department of Industries and Commerce. So depending upon whatever there, you have to have that MSME registration. Along with this MSME registration, if you have a GST registration, then you can approach two people. First, you can approach the pollution control people. Pollution control people, first what you have to do, you have to give a consent for establishment and then consent for operation. So what you have to do is you have to have a plan, how many animals you are going to slaughter, and what is the effluent which is going to be there, what is the methodology which you are using, and what is the quantity of solid waste which is going to be generated, and what is the effluent or water which is going to be there. And so based on that facility, you have to give an idea. And then once you give an idea, the pollution control board. So on the left side, what you see is the consent for establishment. So they give a consent, and then once after the consent, they approve the whatever drawing what you have got for the pollution control program. And then once everything is in order, then you give the consent for operation. So they will give you what is the number of animals which can be done. I mean, what should be the condition of the outlet water and all that. So with that, I'll show you at the end. So once the pollution control board, the state pollution control board gets all that, then you can get the license from the local revenue authority, and then you can start the work. And then when you start the work, you have to get a FSSI registration. So FSSI registration, everything is online. It is very easy. What you have to do is you have to pay the fees and you have to get the thing. So here what they say is slaughtering capacity of 2 large animals or 10 small animals or 50 poultry birds itself, you should have a certificate. So every shop, I think they slaughter more than 50 birds, and every sheep or goat stall, they are selling more than 10 animals. In that being the case, every shop is almost a de facto slaughterhouse which is in operation, and we have to motivate those people, and then we have to bring them with that. Then there is another thing called the animal welfare, where the Prevention of Cruelty to Animal Act 1960. So this was amended in 1982. So there we have to safeguard the welfare of the animals also. In that, basically, recently what has happened is Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, they have given up, given rise to one kind of a notification in 2015. Otherwise, the notification was very, very old. Now they have prescribed what is the floor space and things like that for each species. And so the animal welfare measures have to be taken for the transportation of live animals to the slaughterhouse. And then when the carcasses have to be shifted, the carcasses have to be shifted in exclusive refrigerated vehicles to the distribution points from the slaughterhouse. So that has to be done. Then there is a ritual slaughter certification which is required if the consumers are demanding that. So the halal certification is issued from Mumbai as well as in Delhi. So the people who who give this certification are the Jamaat Ulama Hind. So from there you can get the halal certificate. Now this is about what you have to get it, the paperwork, what you have to do. Now when you have to plan, how do you do it? So right from years from the Trandon book we have been following. So this land requirement for an abattoir is always there. So 1 unit is 5 sheep, 2 pigs, and 1 buffalo, etc. All that. Now here in India, what we have to do is what amount of land is required. So here what happens is effluent treatment plant decides what is the size of your slaughterhouse. So the slaughterhouse will be there, whereas for the aerobic treatment of the effluent, for 1 lakh liters of water, you need 1 hectare of land. That is 2.5 acres of land is required if we are utilizing 1 lakh liters of water. So for every kg of meat which you are producing, you minimum requirement of 10 liters of water is there. So for 1 lakh unit, it is 10,000 kgs when somebody is producing. So it becomes 1 lakh liters. For 1 lakh liters, you have to have 2.5 acres of land, and then that amount of water there has to be an outlet. So once the water goes out of the premises, you are attracting all the problems from the neighbors. And so what has to be done? There should be sufficiently large area of land available so that you can utilize the land and you can grow whatever you want so that the water is utilized. So that is why you see all the export-oriented plants are housed in a huge, like a defense colony where hundreds of acres are there. So what happens is, so no objection will come, no legal issue will come once your area is big. Now, this 1 to 2 acres of land and all is quite sufficient when in some kind of a industrial area, if somebody can give permission. So here in our place also we have got food parks exclusively for the production of food. There, food they consider only vegetarian food. So when you go ask for establishment of a slaughterhouse, to get the benefit of electricity and to get the benefit of the effluent treatment plant, nobody will allow you. So people, so what they have is, you know, there is a saying in Hindi, "Aam se matlab ped kem ginna." So it is something like that. What happens is people want meat. They don't want a slaughterhouse. They don't want to have all the infrastructure facilities required for it. So what happens is when nobody gives, and moreover the industrial land is very expensive, and without 1 crore per acre, you cannot get industrial land. So the best thing is you have to have a place where you can convert a small piece of land, the agricultural land, into industrial land. Conversion has to be there, and then you can go for a slaughterhouse. That is the most practical way we can, establish a slaughterhouse. So selection of the site, all that have been talking about it. It should the people should not be around that. So in near future, there should not be any dwelling which is going to happen. In 1974, for example, in Bangalore, there was a plan to construct one slaughterhouse. So we call it as Silicon Valley, Garden City, what all adjectives are there for Bangalore, but we don't have a slaughterhouse. So the slaughterhouse which is available here was done only for the military personnel about 100 years back. In the same condition we are still using. So from 1974, various committees have formed, various plans have come, and finally no work happens, because what happens is when people have objections to have a mandir in their area, how can they allow one slaughterhouse to come there? So what you have to do is, as I told you, the best farm is to have rural-based slaughterhouses to avoid these kind of things. So the uncongested road rail network and the effluent treatment plant and flooding of roads, objectionable, the airport problems, all the problems are taken care of once you go and have a slaughterhouse in a small area rather than a metropolitan city. So here what happens is, so when you have this, I told you, the resting of the animals also you can provide a place, and the duration of transport also can be reduced when you have a rural slaughterhouses. And so it can be a very simple thing and need not be a very big issue, whatever we talk about. Essential facilities, I'm sure I will not go through that because you know about it. So the procedure of the water requirement, I told you, it is 10 liters per kg carcass weight, and for carcass washing, potable water should be there. So whenever water facility is there, first of all, the land should have access to phone water. The question of getting water from outside in tankers and all is absolutely impossible. And then what you have to do, you have to have a recycled water, processed water for cleaning the premises, and the potable water, which is treated either by RO or by any other means, can be used for carcass washing. And so then the drainage, which is a must, and so anybody who comes for inspection will be looking for that, and you have to do that. Then lighting, as I told you, inspection point, it is to be 500 lux, workroom 220, and other areas 110 lux. It should be well lighted area, and inspection time should be better. So as I told you, the refrigeration is a must to start with. So the carcasses should be chilled at least at 7 degrees Celsius, at the offal at 3 degrees Celsius. And the freezing rooms, after freezing the meat at -40, and it should be held at -18 to -20 temperature. Now here, what happens is the carcasses should not be huddled, and there should be sufficient room between the carcasses when the chilling takes place, so that the uniform chilling can take place. So here is the table which gives the idea how there has to be room for circulation of cold air all through, so that the heat dissipation from the carcass is made very efficient, and the carcasses can be cooled or chilled very fast. Now, in case of poultry, we actually should go for chilled water facility, wherein the screw chiller, whatever we produce, whatever we have for washing of the carcass, simultaneously chilling of the carcass should also take place. And so the chilled water should be used so that chilling process becomes very efficient. Now, they have effluent treatment. So here there are, I told you, this is the most important one, in which there should be primary screening, grit removal, equalization tank with aeration facility. Then if it is anaerobic treatment, you go for biomethanation plant, settling tanks, aerobic treatment, clarifiers, dual media filters, polishing plant and lagoons, and discharge for agriculture and horticultural purposes. To make it very simple, I've shown you some pictures here. So bar screen will remove all the solid materials from there, and then we have the equalization tank, oil skimming chamber, and flash mixture and flocculator. So all these things, they remove the organic matter as much as possible. Then primary clarifier, then the aeration tanks, secondary clarifier, secondary aeration. So this aeration can bring about the oxidation of the organic material which can be there. And finally, there can be clarified water. This clarified water so can be used, and wherein on the fish pond, if the fish can thrive in this water, that is considered the water is safe and it has been treated properly. And for this, I told you, there is a lot of machinery required and a lot of area is also required. So nowadays we go for biomethanation. Biomethanation can be of two types. One, the industrial type, where you can have a balloon for collecting the methane gas, and so this is in collaboration with the European Union companies you can go in for. So we have quite a few these kind of materials where the biomethanation takes place and the methane gas is used. It is even sold after using for self purpose on par with the commercial liquid petroleum gas prices. So it is a very lucrative business and it can be done. Or if you want it, it can be very Indianized process wherein we can have a huge tank which is having 3 different parts. So like whatever sewage treatment plants which have been in use for decades in India. So there what happens is you don't allow the gas to escape and you trap the gas in case of a tent like this. So here from there, the gas is subjected. On the left, whatever you see is the filter. In the filter, the moisture and the carbon dioxide are removed, and this gas can be bottled, or it can be directly get connected to diesel generator, and you can use this particular gas for different purposes of energy. So from this, what happens? Even the organic material which can be there, which is a wonderful manure, and it can be used for agriculture and horticulture purposes. There is a huge demand, especially in Karnataka, where this organic coffee for export and all is happening, and the organic agriculture and horticulture is in big demand today. So that goes very well. So we can save the environment as well as we can improve our revenue generation also, so that the whole process can go hand in hand. And especially, it is a great tool for bringing One Health concept for for the use of the animal health and human health as well as the environmental health. So I think here I stop and I welcome if you have any doubts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for excellent presentation. You have covered all these aspects and basic requirements for setting up of the modern abattoir. Now, I request the participants, if you have any questions, please you can ask, or you can put it in the chat box. You can ask directly. Participants, please.
Good morning. Myself Basant Krishnan from Coimbatore.
Yes, please.
Actually, to say, I just received this meeting link by 11:30, 11 to 11:30 only, death of the minute only. So, truly to say, I didn't get the full idea of the meeting. So, when this will be again rescheduled?
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah. So, whom should I connect to get the intimation earlier?
Yeah. Yeah, you can contact me anytime, no problem.
Yeah. To whom should I contact? That's what is my question.
I reside in Bangalore.
Okay.
Uh,
Your contact details, sir?
yeah, I can give you. My number
Yeah,
I
sure.
can give you.
Yeah, sure, sir. That will be helpful.
Yeah, it is 9900.
We are running a big farm at Coimbatore. So
Yeah, good.
regarding that, we can get in touch with you detail.
Sure. It is 9900 260 661.
900 260
661.
661.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, one question is there from one of the
Please.
participant. So he is asking whether disinfection with sodium chloride is necessary for the final ETP discharge water.
Please come again.
Sir, he's asking whether we have to disinfect the water with sodium hypochlorite before discharging it.
No. We need not. So that is what people do. So they think they are going to kill the organisms. So that is not the way of doing. So we have to tackle the organic matter rather than the bacteria alone.
Good morning, doctor.
Yes, please.
Sir, my name is Suresh. I'm from Bangalore.
Yes.
So, as per your records, to keep a 30,000 units annually, so what will be the estimated approximate budget? That is the first point. And second part, will there be any help from the government side, subsidies kind of stuff? That is the second. And third, if government is doing that, is there any possibility to execute this in PPP model?
Well, you have a wonderful question. So what happens is there is every possibility that we can do. Now you are asking me straight away the budget. The budget is, I have given you so many options here. When so many options are there, there is going to be a big range in which the budget can be made. So depending upon your requirement and the species which you are talking about, we have to think about. So that is number one. Earlier, there was a lot of support from the government. There was a different part of that Ministry of Food Processing Industries, which had one, meat and poultry processing board, National Meat and Poultry Processing Board. That was giving advance to establishment of such facilities with great amount of subsidy. So now these days, at least since about 7-8 years, there is no money available from that point of view. But then the new form of help is there. So in the form of, once you make a farmer producers organization, FPO, when the facility is of the farmers, then there is a possibility of establishing all that. A lot of material, a lot of help is there for such kind of facilities, and you can definitely go about exploring it. So for that, you have to meet your local animal husbandry department who coordinate that. Wonderful programs by the government are there, especially for the processing sector, whether it is milk processing, agriculture product processing or meat processing, a lot of things are there. So it is your mind how you approach people and get the help, financial help done.
If I may
Thank
add,
you.
my name is Runa Rafiq. I am from Assam, Guwahati. I am a farmer,
Yes, please.
come entrepreneur. So this
Yeah,
kind of what this gentleman just asked is a little bit available with the National Livestock Mission, which
yeah.
operates also through the NABARD in some states. The subsidies are linked through NABARD, but National Livestock Mission has some processing units available on a subsidy basis.
No, that is exactly what I told.
Yeah.
That exactly you have to get routed through the Department of Animal Husbandry of respective state. So what is available in Northeast is different than other parts of the country.
Sir, I wanted to ask you a question, do you know where I can get some exposure and information about a small abattoir for poultry, slaughterhouse, which I'm actually setting up a cluster for small poultry farm, small women farmers in a small scales. So are you aware of any place or foundation or whatever where I can get some knowledge and information about setting up of this kind of complete value chain for the cluster?
What exactly is the capacity you are looking for?
Sir, it is about 500 birds per day.
Well, so it can be customized. See, first of all, when about 20 years back, I fabricated one facility at about 100 to 120 birds per hour. So like that, you can start. So if you want an online, system, then it is 500 birds per hour is the minimum plant which is available. Or if you have just only 500 birds per day, you can definitely do that. Quite a few people are there who are making it. And, down south, there are a lot of facilities which are available. So you can come and, I would be very happy to help you in that particular regard. I'm in fact, attached with one person there in Assam. So to propagate that, he's doing a wonderful job from Assam itself. He's doing. So I
What's the
think
name, sir? Can I get some more details?
yeah, you contact me, then I'll give you.
Thank you very much. I will
Yeah,
contact
okay.
you, sir. I have your phone number. I just took it.
Yeah, please.
Any more question to ask? Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I think there is no more questions, and you have excellent presentation done, sir, and covered all the topics. What are the aspects which are mainly required for the setting up for any modern abattoir? I can make out also the people they have interacted during our question answer session also. So they were all, I think some of the entrepreneurs are there really needing such kind of the information to be delivered and required to be given to the person those who are mainly interested to set up small kind of the slaughterhouses facility either for the small animal, large animal, or the poultry. Okay, and also for funding aspect, if your people there's some of the asking questions. Okay, so the fundings are available. You can also see the website of the Minister of Food Processing Industries, Government of India. Okay, they are also having certain plans of the schemes, and also the APEDA, Agricultural Process Food Export Development Authority, Government of India. They are also having certain schemes. They can support for development of the existing slaughterhouses also, and also the development of the laboratories if you are having the existing facilities for the processing of the meat and meat product. Okay, so they also support the financially to strengthen your facility for production of the hygienic meat. And some of the agencies are because slaughter is the part, it is a state subject. Okay, the state government is also having certain schemes. So and every state has a different schemes are also available. So that also you can just check it and get a benefit out of that, so that you can have your best facility for production of the hygienic and wholesome meat for the supply to the consumers. So thank you so much, sir, Dr. Nadim sir, for taking up the time and interacting with all the participants here today morning. And I wholeheartedly thank you profusely for sharing your experience. Okay, the 37, 40 years experience in the meat industry to all the participants. Thank you so much, sir.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
Sir, one participant has mentioned his in the chat box. He has
Yeah.
mentioned his mobile number, and he's saying that we are running pig farms, around 700 pigs
Yeah,
based
yeah,
in
yeah.
Coimbatore,
Yeah.
and we are looking for slaughterhouse establishment that is for
Okay.
export of pork. So that he has mentioned his number. Sir,
Sure, sure, sure.
sir will also now we have with us another eminent speaker, senior the person. Yes, and we have respected now another speaker, Srikant Tambe sir, senior consultant meat industry, Mumbai, and sir is going to speak on recent advances in pork meat production, its scope for export. So sir will give the answer about this. And now I invite and I request Dr. R.J. Jhende sir to give brief introduction about another speaker.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Vaidya. Uh, Good afternoon. Now we have another speaker, Mr. Shrikant Bhaskar Tambe sir. Okay, so you can make out Tambe sir is not veterinarian, not any meat industrial specialist, but he's basically he has worked in the meat industry for a very long time, and I can say that by virtue of his experience and liaison with me since my studentship from 1992. Okay, so sir has a very wide experience and he is more than veterinarian, so he knows more than us because he is actively involved right from the production of the development of the meat and meat product, its marketing chain, not only domestic but also the international market. Okay, so I'm very happy to introduce this Tambe sir today. He is a senior meat consultant. After his graduation and post graduation and doing this MBA in marketing, he joined the MAPCO meat processing plant in 1972-78, and he worked there as a marketing and export manager for the frozen and the processed meat from this MAPCO. That was a Margo. From the 1970 to 1981, he has had his own plant, and he was having the director of the Shan Export Private Limited, the frozen buffalo meat export plant, Mumbai. After 81 to 2000, he has set up the partnership business meat processing in New Mumbai, that is Navi Mumbai, and from 2000 onward till date, he is also working as the director of the Triveni Meat Export Private Limited, that is his own plant in Calcutta, which is mainly involved in meat processing business. And also he is the independent meat processing consultant. Also, is providing the meat processing consultancy for the mainly in the large meat industry and also the pork industry. So his area of consultation is mainly the meat processing, meat and meat product marketing, and training program on the meat plant workers and the supervisors. So with this introduction, I invite Tambe sir to talk on the topic. His topic is the recent advances in pork meat production and scope for the export. So Tambe sir, please.
वो कैसे इंडस्ट्री में क्या होना अरे
My name is Shrikant Ambe, associated with pork industry for last 50 years. Right from I entered this field in the year 1972 when I joined MAPCO. So all my experience, which is there in this particular field, that I would like to try and share. And after sharing this, then we can have a question and answer session if you have any more doubts. The topic which is given to me is advances of pork meat production and its scope for export. Now, I will divide this into sections. First, I will try and cover advances of pork meat production with reference to India. Because we are staying in India, and this is what is my experience of last years. Now, for this, we have to go to the history of pork meat production in India. For the first time in 1960s, that means during 1960 to 1970, Government of India decided to promote pork production and pork processing. With that particular idea, they had decided to open 4 bacon factories. They used to call at that time bacon factories, not as meat processing factories, but bacon factories. One was at Borivali, one was at Gannavaram, one was at Ranchi, and one was in Kerala, Kochi. So this was done with Danish government's participation. So in order to run these particular factories, in order to give the backup, at that time from Denmark, we had imported, India had imported certain exotic pigs at that time. Those were mainly Landrace, Yorkshire, Duroc, and they were trying at that time first to run piggery farms on a pure line basis. Simultaneously, some efforts were going on for upgradation in UP and Bihar area, where crossbreeding with F1, F2, they were trying and improving our existing breed. Unfortunately, between 1965 and 70, that's the only time Indian government imported pure line from abroad. So whatever pig lines we are having, they are based on that. So that was the technology at that time. But between 65 and 70 and now, a lot of developments have taken place. At that time, genetics was not that important. But over a period of time, in Europe and in America, they have been continuously trying and improving their existing. What were the changes? Changes were mainly, first and foremost thing is, they were concentrating in terms of improving the conversion ratio. I'm talking in the year 1965 and 70, 3.5 to 3.8 conversion ratio was considered to be good. So this was one aspect. The second aspect was surviving litter. At that time, the norm was about 8 to 10 surviving litter per farrowing, and that was considered to be good. Third thing is the composition of meat. That means between fat and lean. What was the proportion which was coming? Now, these were the 4 lines on which a lot of development took place in Europe and in America. Today, they are in a position to give a litter size of 18 to 20, which brings down the cost of production of piglet substantially lower. They are very comfortably managing 5 to 5.5 farrowings in 2 years. So imagine if the litter size has become double, farrowing time, the gap has reduced. So cost per production of a piglet has considerably come down. Second thing was, as I told you, the conversion ratio. Even in conversion ratio, genetically, over a period of time, they have improved considerably, and now it is much lower, or you can say about 3 to around, it's going around 3. One more important aspect, in 1960s and 70s, The ideal slaughter weight was considered for a live pig was about 70 to 80, and the carcass used to come the weight of about 50 to 55. If somebody grew pig beyond that, the addition of fat was increasing exponentially. So that was the ideal time for the purpose of slaughter. That was about the weight. Now that has undergone a major change. Now today the slaughterable weight is coming to around 120 kilos. So on an average, you have 95 kilo to 100 kilo is the weight of a carcass. Surprisingly, at that particular thing, even fat to meat ratio is considerably far better than what it was earlier. Just to give you example, what 100 kilo carcass with a longitudinal dorsi muscle as broad as 3 to 3.5 inches, on that, the amount of back fat is hardly half an inch or 3/4 of an inch. So if you try and take that particular proportion, in that case, a lot of development, a lot of progress has taken. So the percentage of even visible fat and chemical fat has come down considerably. Next point, which is your bone to meat ratio. Now, as everybody knows, the bone to meat ratio is directly proportional to the total weight of the carcass. So imagine that 60 to 70 kilo carcass or 55 to 60 kilo carcass vis-a-vis 100 kilo carcass. The bone to meat ratio has improved substantially. The cost of production per lean meat has come down. Besides this, this is one aspect, the technical aspect on which they are trying, the improvements are taking place. Besides that, even the anatomically also, there are a lot of changes which have taken place for the better realization of money. Now, as you know, in pork carcass, the costliest part is normally loin, the back portion. Over a period of time, they have increased the proportion of back vis-a-vis that of legs and shoulder, by which the profitability of this particular thing improves. Now, as against this, in India, we have our own Indian breed, where the average slaughter weight of an animal is about 30 to 35 kilo, and age of about 1.5 to 2 years. The yield of a carcass, you lose about 30 to 35%. So the carcass weight comes to about between 20 to 24 kilos. This I'm talking of typically in Western India, Gujarat, part of Madhya Pradesh. These are the local breeds which are available over. Now, when you are talking for carcass weight of about 20 kilos, the bone to meat ratio of that comes as 40% bone and 60% meat. So cost of lean meat is much higher compared to second part is the age of the animal. In case of in case of new breeds, the age of the animal is 7 to 9 months old. During that time, they are in a position to gain those weights. Whereas in order to achieve 30, 35 kilo, the Indian breeds, they are taking about 1.5 to 2 years. So in terms of tenderness, there is a substantial difference between our own Indian breeds and this. The most interesting part, in spite of going through all this, they have managed to keep the cost very low. Today, if you try and consider the price of meat of 100 kilo carcass, ex slaughterhouse, based in US, in Iowa, and the other which are the main producing centers in US, is working out to about 90. I'm talking of the rate at which the animal is sold immediately outside the slaughterhouse. It's about 90 cents per pound, which works out to about 145 to 150 rupees per kilo. Mind you, this particular price is very, very competitive. Now, this I'm talking on the basis of what we observe here, the prices of pork in Mumbai. In Mumbai, as you know, Devnar Slaughterhouse is a famous slaughterhouse. It's a slaughterhouse where licensees, they bring their animals, suppliers, they bring their animals are slaughtered, and they are being used. Today, the price at Devnar Slaughterhouse is 130 rupees a kilo. Now, the interesting part is that none of our pigs which are coming to Devnar are stall fed. So in terms of their food cost is much lower. Vis-a-vis this, if you try and consider a pig in US, in that case, it is 100% stall fed, giving exclusively compound feed and raised on that. Now, the thing is, these prices are sustainable and workable. It's not that there are any heavy subsidies on that. In fact, this year the prices in US have improved. Last year, just before Corona started, at that time, there was some problem which was going on between China and US. At that time, the prices had come as low as 70 cents, 75 cents per pound. That was about 100 to 110 rupees a kilo. And still, mind you, their production did not drop. No, to our knowledge, there are no heavy subsidies which are coming from the government in order to sustain this. Now, why I can say that confidently is because I'm giving you example of US. But you try, one of the biggest producers of pork is Canada. In Europe, you have Belgium, you have Spain, you have Germany. All of them are producing, and prices of all these are more or less comparable. The difference is hardly 5% here and there. And those industries, those who are thriving over there. Now we need to do some introspection. Without feed cost or without substantial feed cost, if the prices are 130 rupees a kilo ex slaughterhouse in Devnar, so what would be our cost if we try and stall feed it? It will shoot beyond 200 to 250. US and Europe have achieved this great productivity only because of technology, management, and with this, they are in a position to keep the prices of pork production very, very low. Recently, last week, US has requested India, and India has acceded to that we will start importing, that the pork meat will be allowed to be imported from US. Mind you, it was earlier available from Belgium, it was available from Germany, which was coming. There is a 30% import duty plus 10% surcharge, so it works out to about 33%. Now, if one tries and calculates, taking into consideration bone to meat ratio, taking into consideration this, that. So today, even with 33% import duty, the price in India would be around 250 to 280 rupees per kilo ex docs. That's your import price, including freight, and this rough estimate which is there. Then, if you try and debone Indian pig vis-a-vis this, in that case, the proportion of meat lean meat will be much higher, and the cost of that will be comparable to this. Now, we cannot be complacent on this. We have to make effort and try and improve our breeding techniques, our breed, our management, because only because of excellent management they are in a position to. In US, all big companies have entered into the pig production. They have a contractual arrangements with the farmers. Farmers are given piglets. They are provided with feed, and everything is charged. And whatever is produced is being purchased by these companies like Tyson and the various 4 or 5 big companies which are there. They are controlling everything. So they are the one, they ensure that the cost of production remains low. Now, with this, if we try and see our Indian sea, it becomes very difficult to try and compete with these people in terms of. Secondly, all over the world, pork meat is a commodity, and those commodities are having specification. Fortunately or unfortunately, all these specifications are based on recent developments which are taken place everywhere. The average carcass size is between 95 to 100. Bone to meat ratio is. Now, if we have to compete with these people, in that case, first we'll have to improve our product. That is a right kind of pig we have to develop. Then comes the management. And then only we will be in a position to, mind you, in animal feed, in pig feed, the carbohydrates, US people are, they are their own, corn is that. But the major protein portion which is there, which goes in the form of oil cake, fish meal, rice bran, de-oiled rice bran, all these ingredients are being exported from India to Europe and US. For us, if it need be, if the prices of corn are low, then we can import corn and make our feed, which can be competitive with them. All of these people, we have a temperature problem. They also have a temperature problem, but they are managing with a controlled temperature to increase the production. Similarly, we can do it. But for this, we'll require a good amount of investment which has to come into. Good amount of dedicated people, those who are coming. Then only we will be in a position to compete. Today, the biggest buyers of pork in the world, if you try and see, is China, Japan, Korea. These are the places, and Russia. They are the big buyers. Mind you, China is a big producer also of pork, but they are also big buyers and they are net importers. They are importing. Today they are totally dependent on pork in Canada and US and partially Europe. So if we are talking of a big markets and big league, unless and until we achieve that, it's not. But till then, what should be done? See, this is not end of the road. See what's happening. Fortunately, here in India, we have Bhutan and Nepal, which are landlocked countries. Their preferred food is pork. And partially, they are dependent in India. Because from China, the pork comes, the cost of that Chinese pork is much higher. So Bhutan, today, a lot of people from Western India and from Eastern India are exporting pork to Bhutan. Along with pork, they do not have as a good facilities for meat processing as we have in India. Therefore, product like sausages, salamis, kebabs, and they are exported to Bhutan. But the size of Bhutan, the population of Bhutan is not that big. So in terms of quantum, are not comparable. But today we are exporting to Bhutan, which is our second thing is Nepal. Fortunately, even Nepal, they prefer this, and good amount of processed pork and processed chicken is being sent to Nepal and Bhutan. Our other neighbors are Bangladesh and Pakistan. With Pakistan, we do not have any trade agreement. So even a trickle is impossible, and pork in Muslim countries is strictly no-no. But the thing is, they also have a certain amount of requirement for ship handling, for five-star hotels. So when you have a tourist, they need bacon. Small amount of this are required, which can go from here. Same is the case with Bangladesh. Sri Lanka, that's an exception. Sri Lanka, the preferred meat is pork. And over there, a lot of development has taken place in pig breeding, improvement of breeds and production. So in fact, Sri Lankan, they have advanced in terms of pork production much ahead of India. And they are making efforts to make India as a export market. So this is the scenario as far as the present. But there are specific products of processed pork which are geographically, or you can say specialized, of India. Kebabs. Similarly, we have Indo-Portuguese dish or Indo-Portuguese product which is known as Goa sausage. This is something unique sausage. Nowhere in the world similar kind of sausages are made. Either you have fully fermented or you have emulsified sausages, but ovens with Portuguese help over a period of more than 150, 200 years back, they have developed this particular product, which is based with vinegar, remains at a room temperature, and this is the specialty. Today in America, there are some Goans, those who are making this specific product and selling by these orders, but especially by email. So not email, what do you call it? E-commerce. They are selling these particular. So there are chances that there are certain products which are India specific. As I told you, mainly kebabs and these kind. We can develop till we make our improvements in pork market or in improving our pork breed. Till then, some efforts in export of this can continue. Now, these are the basic things which I wanted to share, just trying and shaking. If anybody has any queries about this, so with discussion, we can definitely come out and we can.
So thank you so much, sir. Explaining all the what are the scope and for the export of the pork from the India and all other requirement, right from you started from the history of the how the pig business has started in our country, establishing initially the 4 processing plant at different locations in across the country, and also what are the things will require for establishing such kind of processing plant, mainly for the pork and pork product. As you all know that this pig population, 60 to 70% population is mainly present in our country, that is in northeast region. Okay, and as sir is stated rightly, that also our country has started already the export of the pork to the our neighboring countries like Nepal and Bhutan. Okay, and in India also last 5 to 6 months back, that is only one plant in our country. So that is also approved by the APEDA. That is the first plant in India that is in Pune, in Maharashtra, that piggery farm, Mayur piggery farm. Okay. And also certain plants under the Export Inspection Council also, they are also permitted for exporting to the country. But unless and until these are not under APEDA, so they are not allowed to export the meat to the other neighboring countries. So as sir also stated that this China is a big market, although they are having the largest pig population in China as compared to the other countries are concerned. But because of this COVID-19, you know that the Chinese, they have destroyed this most of the piggeries farmings in their country. So that is why they have a demand of importing the pork of the other countries, and we have very good scope. So, but he has also mentioned in his talk that we have to start rightly from the developing our pig. Okay, what are the piglets or the animal conditions? Or that means that breeding we have to improve. So we have to be compete with the other countries. And he has also said that the Indian government has also signed the MOU in the I think last month. So they are also permitted the import of the meat from the US also. So yes, you know that they are having very good farmings and very healthy pigs. Their meat bone ratio is very high as compared to our animals here in our country. So to compete with such with such kind of the quality of the meat, pork, which is coming into our country, so we have to have take care of our farming system, our processing system, and we have to work on this aspect so that we'll be able to compete with the prices which are mainly because there may be chances of reducing the price of our pork also or the pork products also. So with that, sir has covered all the aspects, and thank you so much, sir, for that. Giving your all, as you all might have make out. So whether sir is veterinary and non-veterinary. So by deep knowledge in pork industry and the meat and meat, he's developed his own products also, and like Goa Sausage, he has said. So because most of the R&D work they are done in our department itself, but he comes with all preparations, all technical data and what are the requirements of the importing domestic requirements, and we do develop, but with his own ideas and input in that, what are the basics, ingredients and all this required. What is the test required with the different, we conduct that sensory evaluation by taking some of the foreigners also. So how our product is liking by the Indian population, but also the foreigners by conducting the sensory evaluation at the various different, the five-star hotels also. So such kind of the R&D work also sir does, and he has shared his whole, that experience in this meat industry with this uh, talk. Okay, so I really thank from my bottom of heart for sparing his valuable time with you all. And any questions from the participants regarding pork industry? So please ask, sir. Thank you.
Ashwini, show the chat box. First question we will take. They are running pig farms, around 700 pigs based on farm. They are looking for slaughterhouse establishment, sir. They have the pig farms, sir, around 7 pigs. They have this slaughterhouse for the export for the pigs. Coimbatore.
For the purpose of export, have to have a sizable. Now, the investment which is required for slaughterhouse, in order to make it economically workable, you have to have a high throughput. Because for export standards, you have certain norms of hygiene. Once you have to maintain all this, in that case, with 300 pig farm, in fact, you will require about 100 to 100 pigs per shift in order to make it economically workable.
Thank you, sir. Now, again, if the questions from participants, you can directly ask.
Sir, I'm calling from Guwahati. My name is Runa Rafiq. How big do you think can be the impact of US pork in India? And as you may be knowing, in Northeast there is a lot of high consumption of pork, and it is the most of the pork in India I think is consumed in the Northeast, if I'm not wrong. What do you think can be the impact of the import of US pork into this region, and particularly with reference to the Northeast? What do you think can be the impact?
First and foremost thing that there is a knee-jerk reaction for the recent news which has come about import of pork from US. First, let me make it very clear that today anybody can import pork on OGL, that is open general license. And people are importing pork on open general license from other places. Now, the thing is, Government of India has approved certain health certificates, a country specific, and they have a set procedure for that. Now, the thing is, for so many days, somehow or the other, US health certificate was not acceptable to India. Therefore, US, nobody was in a position to import pork from US. But mind you, as it stands today, whether US starts or not, people are importing from Belgium. They are paying 33% this. Now, same thing will happen if it comes from US. The freight will go slightly up, and the price advantage which was there earlier, as I told you, that 2 years back the prices in US were exceptionally low because of Chinese ban of export ban of to China from US. So at that time the prices were lower, but today even all over the world the prices have gone to the same level. So whether US starts or whether it comes from Belgium or whether it comes from Germany, the price will be hardly 5% plus or minus, or 10% plus or minus. So it's not going to make any impact. Even today, people are importing.
If I may interrupt, sir, the prices of pork in Northeast is quite high. It is as high as 400 rupees per kg also. In Guwahati, we purchase it at 350, 360. And there are places in Assam where it is 400. And I would suspect it is about the same in the rest of the Northeast. So prices being so high here, was a concern that if the prices in the imported pork is lower, then it might take over the local market.
Okay, let's see what will be the scenario. Now, today, if I want to import pork carcass from Europe or America, let's not talk of America because America is yet to start, but from Europe, where the prices are going to be similar. The price will be around 230, 250 rupees ex dogs, or it may be slightly lower. If they are more competitive, it may come to 200 to 200. Let's take 200 because 150 is a ex slaughterhouse price in Europe and America. Therefore, I take 200 rupees as a price of this delivered in Bombay port. Now, it becomes 200. To start with, 66 rupees will be added. 66 rupees will be added by way of import duty. So the landed price for an importer, it becomes 266 rupees. And you at one time, you cannot import less than 20-foot container. It's about 15 tons. So you have to invest that amount of money in terms of to import that. After it comes, it takes around 2 to 3 weeks for government approval to clear the meat for human consumption or for fit for consumption. I think that goes to somewhere in for MP, yes, MP, and over there it is tested, and by about 2 to 3 weeks, very comfortably going. Then, till then, you have to keep on paying demurrage in docks because the container is kept plugged in docks till you get the final report. Once you get the report, then that particular container is allowed to be taken, and then it has to be stored into rented warehouse where you have a temperature of minus 18 degrees centigrade. And then from there, if it is to be distributed further, now keep on adding the cost. Now, if you want to take it to Guwahati, so forget about Bombay, but even if you import that in Calcutta, for that matter, from Calcutta, you have to take it to Guwahati, and everywhere you have to have a cold chain because we have been using on the basis of fresh meat. Today, everywhere, no frozen meat is being sold on established with a cold chain at all. So you'll have to have that. It will take place. It will take place. So what I foresee is initially imported pork will be used for the purpose of processing, not for the purpose of retail. And then over a period of time, then it will start slowly trickling. But I see a big future of pork being used in India. I'll give you the reason for that. Amongst red meat, the availability for you is beef, pork, and mutton, that is lamb. Now, beef, we have a lot of restriction in terms of religious restrictions. If anybody wants to eat red meat today, he has to pay 650 to 700 rupees per kilo for mutton. As against that, now if this, and mind you, 650 to 700 is space. Looking at the past 50 years, I can tell you the prices of mutton are shooting up compared to any other meat. So that is expected to go to 1,000 rupees. Now, when it goes to 1,000 rupees, at that time, say, remember one thing, the red meat has its own taste and has its own value, and people value red meat. It may be bad for health, but people prefer red meat. Now, when the price difference between mutton and this imported pork is going to reduce, or not going to reduce, is going to increase over a period of time. There are a lot of reservations in terms of eating pork because in India, it is not stall fed. Whereas when you get 100% imported, once you get imported, it is 100% stall fed. So the consumer is, quite assured that he is not worried about the health. He is not worried about the hygiene. So I have this particular feeling that people will have no choice if they want to turn to red meat or cheaper this available is going to be pork over a period of time. Any other question?
Thank you, sir. That was very, very enlightening, and you are that you are an expert on this issue. There is no doubt, actually. Thank you very much, and it's a privilege that we could hear you today.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you, madam, also. You have asked the very pertinent and relevant questions because as sir is always available because when we were students time also, sir used to come to the department and we have done many trials and under the sir's advice and always sir used to guide us when here were the students, Dr. Serikar sir and Patrukar sir also was there, and that time also sir used to come and always sir is available without hesitating any miss. Always he used to available to guide us. And in spite of busy schedule, sir is always busy. But in spite of busy schedule, in a short period of time, sir has accepted our invitation and sir is has come to our department to hear. So thanks a lot, sir, for your time, valuable time, and very excellent your speech. Thank you very much, sir.
It's my pleasure to be with Bombay Veterinary College because I consider this as my alma mater, though I am not a direct student.
Sir, just briefly, I am Asman Frederick from Pepper Pork, and how can we get in touch with you?
Repeat your name, please.
My name is Asman Frederick from Pepper Pork. Okay, how can we get in touch with you? Can we get your contact number or something?
We'll provide sir's number also. Okay.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
I think if there is no any further question, okay, so we can close today. I think there is announcement from Dr. Vivek Shukla, please.
So all the participants are requested to join tomorrow at 10:50 a.m. We will use the same link. Tomorrow we will be meeting at 10:50 a.m. in the morning. All of you are requested to join. So thank you all. So I declare this session over. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.